Okay, so the first tip that I want to talk about is how talents can actually change move priority of the characters. And I think this is absolutely massive. I only got this for one character, and then this was completely game changing for me. This is like the thing that really, if anything, inspired me to make the video, which is for All Might. And I'll show you what I got on him now. But what I used to have is, so I used to go up here, and I didn't have either of these two because at 27 points, if you go up here, you can't reach the other point. Wait, you need it if you're going to go up to one of these talents that takes 15, I believe. 10, yeah, it takes 15. This one down here takes 15. Only this one takes 11. If you go up here, I can actually go down and finish this. So I was like, might as well take advantage of having both of these, but I used to have this one, and I do like this path because you get the 60% increased damage on heavy strike, and then you also get as he takes damage, you get more attack percentage. But in super co-op, he would never use Texas Smash. He would never use that the big part here and that's a massive part of his damage. And essentially, what I mainly use when I'm playing him, especially against bosses and stuff like that, I'm constantly Texas Smashing because I think it's his best move. Not really Carolina Smashing that often. So I figured his AI would always prioritize. He would hop in, and then he would do a Carolina Smash constantly. And I'll show you how he always worked for me before I actually made this change. I got this pulled up, and here, this is what his old AI would always do for me. He would always go in, and then spin. But as we're going to see in this battle, like, that's not good enough when it comes to a damage perspective. Like, he doesn't... What's the point of this talent if I'm going to be spinning all the time, and I'm not using... all the talents on the Texas Smash. Also, Texas Smash is just a better move. It's going to be knocking people up. It's going to actually be CCing them. It's just way better. So that was kind of a bummer for me. So I was like, okay, let's actually change the talents over to... I want to be able to take advantage of constantly Carolina Smashing. So I'm going to be immune to all damage if I Carolina Smash. Also, there's this part here that I was like, I might as well just get it. But he's probably not going to Texas Smash. And sure enough, once I actually changed his talents, it's actually pretty sweet. So here, let me put this back on. So face the same, I believe this is the same kind of team. Yeah, this is the exact same one. So here's same team. Now the only difference that I did, I made sure everyone is in the same spot, but the only difference I did was move the talents around because I wanted to see the actual difference. I like to actually, if I'm going to make a change, I don't want to change anything else. So now, look at him. He's going to immediately go into a Texas Smash. And look at how much easier this match is just from this one change on the talents. Everyone's dead already. Before, they all had a lot of life. And being able to do that, especially, like, I just think it's cool that that change matters. Because right there, you actually knock her out of the air. It's another move that can actually knock her out of the air. So first of all, it handled that wave really well that I had problems with before with his old AI. And on the next round of characters, when they had the flying chick, he knocked her right out of the air immediately. So it would even be able to solve that problem where she's pretty annoying to deal with here in Super Co-op Battle, whereas now he just handles it. So he's like an absolute god. And then, like, if we look at the damage, I didn't check the damage, but he did a ton. And even if he wasn't doing that much damage, he's CCing them and controlling them so much more than he was before. So I think that's a really good, if you have your All Might, be sure to build him this way so he's actually doing his best moves. Weirdly enough, like, when you actually have damage on it, he doesn't do it. But I don't know which one actually triggers this because if I had to guess, I'm going to assume this one, where he goes from heavy strike to Oklahoma Smash, or he goes from Texas Smash to Oklahoma Smash. If I had to guess, because what you could do is just ignore this, and if you actually max out his talent tree, you could take advantage of him doing the Texas Smash consistently and get the extra damage over here. So maybe that might be actually something worth doing. But you would actually need to fully max the character. Whereas with this build, he is getting a lot more survivability. And what's kind of nice, just from a resource standpoint, is you're essentially done at 27 because over here, this is only 1% crit, 4 times. So think about how many resources that is just to get 4 extra crit chance on a Texas Smash. It's just not worth it. If you're happy with this build, you can just totally go here. If you want to actually fully max him, I would say you could even maybe get away with this, but it's really going to depend on his AI, because this build's useless if he doesn't Texas Smash in Super Co-op Battle. This build's actually probably pretty good if you were going to, you know, like this full build, this full damage build would probably be pretty good, if not better, in a lot of PvE content where you just want to do as much damage as possible. So I'm thinking like agency assignments, because they actually get pretty tough. Okay, so that's for the first tip. If you want to get better, this is by far the best way to do it, is recording every match every day and really start to study the AI and then watch it. And when you go back to watch it from the perspective of each character. Like, okay, so this character, okay, what is he going to do this match? And like follow that one and then rewatch it and then follow the perspective of another character. Because you can't, it's impossible to watch what every character is going to do in one playthrough. Like, and even when you are focusing on one character, you might miss things even in that match. So you really want to make sure you're recording your matches and playing through them as much as possible. And when you go to make changes, don't change too much, because then it's going to throw off all the testing and you're introducing way too many variables. It's going to be really hard to actually narrow in on what you're looking for if you constantly like change the entire roster. So, okay, so tip number 3 is going to be, how I look at my team comps is I look at it in 3 different roles. I look at a tank, ideally. Like All Might's the perfect example of a tank, because he's not only a tank, but he does a ton of damage and he does a ton of AoE. Like, and so he's essentially like I want them to attack him, and then also he has hyper armor, stuff like that. So even if they attack him, he's not going to get disrupted, and he's going to get his moves off and really start that disruption. So then another character, another role, and so he would be the best at it. You know, if you're on a budget, you know, there's other characters that could fill this role. I would say some of the best are going to be this guy right here, All Might, and then this guy are some of the best you can find. But then I like also having another disruptor on the team. So I think Tokiyami here is going to be by far one of the best. There's other options you can have for disruptors. I don't have too much familiarity with them, but playing against them, because you match up with them against as bots, I think Mineta would actually be really good, because he uses his E move right off the start and he roots someone. So having any type of disruption plus damage, I think is fantastic. And when he's free casting, he does a ton of damage. So he's another option. And then also I think potentially, I haven't tested this, but I think she would actually be really good too, because there's, you know, you got stealth, you got slows, just a really solid kit as a good disruptor if you don't have someone Tokiyami. I would say he's probably the best at actually disruption. And then the last slot for this would be some kind of DPS. Currently, I'm using Momo because I wanted to test her out. At first, I thought she was pretty garbage, and against characters like him, I think she's absolutely trash, because he will immediately dash onto the backline and completely one-shot them. The person I like to use instead is her to float away, so he dashes in and she floats immediately, as a good way to counter him, and he doesn't really have any options after she floats, and then eventually Tokiyami or All Might will completely CC him and put him in that whole AoE chain. But if he gets onto your backline and can just free cast, like they're dead, like super dead. And then as another DPS, I actually think he's really good too, because it's just from a pure raw damage output, he's actually a really good character. So I could totally see him, like if people are gonna have like double S, triple S versions of him, and he's just gonna smoke people. So I would definitely be on the lookout for him. I'm not sure about this dude. I think a lot of people are kind of underwhelmed by him, but maybe in this setting with an actual heavy investment into him, he might actually be a really good character. I just have zero information on him. And then this guy's been a big problem. I've had a lot of hard times fighting him, but I don't really know his kit too well. So I would, if I had to guess, I think he was actually pretty effective in this frontline Tinky spot. But that's kind of how I'm looking at my team comps. You know, with the limited resources we have in this game, it's not like I can invest in all these characters and truly know to the level I know these characters. But those are kind of the concepts, because I don't like to have like 2 DPS, for example, because if you don't have enough characters that are willing to, like, or able to CC and control the characters, it doesn't matter how much DPS you're going to do, because they're just going to die immediately, especially if you're trying to do a punch up. The whole point of punching up is that you're able to find a way to CC or control them, so where your raw DPS doesn't matter. Because if it's raw DPS versus raw DPS, you're gonna lose because you're trying to punch up. So that's kind of why I think these characters are so effective, because they're able to win at significantly higher battle powers than they are. And then when it comes to back row characters, a couple of these characters are just heroes I threw in because they, I got them to level 60. But when I'm stacking these, like, I kind of want them stacked in the same type of character. Like I wouldn't put All Might in here and then put a DPS, or I wouldn't, I would make sure that they're similar. They fill the similar role. But one thing to keep in mind, when people die, and they come out at the back, and then they're gonna still do their main move. So if you're fighting over here on one side, then, like, for example, she's gonna start flying in. So it's really bad to have her sometimes as a backliner if you're not making sure that, like, how your fight's going. And once you start to really understand how your kits are gonna move, if you're not fighting kind of in the middle or near your side, then what's gonna happen is she's gonna fly in. She's going to run out of gravity, fall, and then get one shot. If she's trying to fill in someone, so you just really want to make sure that the characters you have, like, I think some of the best backline characters are people that can teleport. The main character, I think he's really good as a backliner, because he just teleports right in. I think this one right here, I think he would actually be really good as a backliner because he gets right in there. They're so fast. So just keep that in mind. This one, I like her as a backliner as well, just because she's just such a good character. Switch them around. Because if she doesn't get targeted, I like her a lot more from a DPS perspective, because she boosts everyone's attack. She kind of is special in that sense, where she's putting out turrets that are giving everyone attack. She's giving out crit. She's giving out, attack or defense percentage depending on where she's in her rotation. So she's a very good support in that sense. So I like using her. But if there's situations where an assassin's on the team or she can't survive, like in those, then I immediately switch her out with the flying girl, because the flying girl will be able to save herself. So that's kind of how I see it. But I don't like her as a backliner, ideally, because she's really good setup in the beginning. But if the game's already over, or if you're trying to come back, she's definitely not good at that. She's going to completely get bodied. Whereas this girl, at least, if you're fighting close and she can take advantage of her flying, you might be able to save a match, because she's not going to get targeted. She can start to snowball and maybe, save someone that's low, and then you guys just finish out the match. Whereas I think Momo's more of like she needs to start, she needs to have a good supporting cast that makes sure she doesn't get touched. And then she has so much upside from doing that, but she's very fragile. So far, like, those are pretty much my main tips, is just when it comes to super co-op. Here, let's actually see if we can do one live here. This is a pretty big punch up. It's getting to the point where it's getting pretty big, but I want to show, I'm going to do 2 battles, because I want to see, even in this situation with the whole changes with Texas Smash, because I don't think I've faced this guy with this whole new All Might build. So I want to see if he still ports all the way straight over diagonally to Momo. That'll be a good example of, like, an assassin botting her, if that still happens, and we'll try switching her out with the flying chick if that goes down, or hopefully, we just win. But we'll get an idea of how the AI works, because usually what ends up happening, I usually like this lineup significantly more than some of the other lineups. Let me see if I can see it. Like, I don't like facing this guy. This guy's really tough, even though this one we win here usually, but I think these 2 characters are significantly better for the most part. This one, we'll see how this plays out. And I haven't really seen this guy do much. So see how he dashes back in, but luckily he just immediately goes back and she can pop off. So hopefully we can get the snowball of CC going. Yeah. I really feel like having him consistently Texas smashing makes him so much better. Like, him just spinning, not actually doing that. This move is so good for this. It's pretty much a wrap. But, that's like a 50k punch up. That's massive. And then here's how the damage worked out. So he's going to do a ton of damage because she's boosting the damage of this guy, and he's, like, the main AoE damage dealer. So him popping off is definitely what you want. But I think this, how this build works, because normally he does the most damage, or he'll normally do about the same as this chick, but with how this build works is he's gonna really make a big difference in his damage just based on how much support he's been given. Let's do another one. Let's see if it maybe changes the AI a little higher up, like a different team comp, kind of get an idea here. Okay, so we got 300. So, you know, totally worth it from a reward perspective. So it looks like it's now, this one's a little different. I don't think I've seen one where it didn't have, you know, the comp's a little different, but let's see how it works out. And they're also a little stronger. So see how he just jumps in, immediately counters her, and then is guaranteed going to get it off because he has the super armor, and then can spin right in afterwards, which is awesome. And then immediately goes back into another Texas Smash. We're getting the extra crit rate up because of Momo. That's one of the benefits of having her, is just everyone's getting extra crit rate. So he got knocked out of the air, which is a bummer. Oh, okay, I don't think this is... So he'll see if she can turn it around. Okay, so he was able to survive. Let's see the damage. Yeah, because this guy, I've never seen him to survive before, so that's interesting. Let's see if that was just a outlier or if that was actually something happens. Because maybe what happens is after a certain point they get tanky enough to where that strat, we just can't overcome that big of a difference, and then he survives, and then it just gets out of hand. So, or we just got like no crits or something, and he was able to make it. Okay, loops them all up. The amount of control we have, I feel like if we end up losing, it's purely just a DPS issue, because we have so many opportunities to kill him here. Okay. So it looks like it's not a fluke. They definitely win. And then the next, yeah, so he pops off every time. She gets bodied because she gets knocked out of there immediately. Let's try it one more time, but I'm going to switch out Momo for Flying Girl, and we'll see how that works out. Maybe the extra damage will be enough. Oh, he missed them all. Okay, we're doing better. Okay, he's getting stunned. Okay, so she popped off. Yeah, so they do about the same damage. It's hard to justify using Momo when she's also just as, if not significantly better. You know, he doesn't do much damage, but he has a long way to go based on my build. I don't even have like full chips for him, stuff like that. So there's so much more potential when it comes to this. The only one that's like truly like kitted out is probably All Might. And then second place is going to be her. So I figured, I think it's dope that we were able to beat this. I think this is another 50k punch up. So that's pretty dope. Here. Yeah, so we're up to, you know, we're only going up 5, but get a pull every single time. So then now they're a little stronger. Now it's back to this. So this one, I'm not a fan of facing this one, but here, let's do one more. Let's do one more. Let's see if we can beat it. See how far we can go. So we're gonna see the root. Usually roots them right here. Oh, you get CC'd. Okay, well, they got bodied. Being the backups usually is just you're in for a bad time. They don't have priority, but so that's encouraging. You know, we're able to still beat that. Okay. Okay, so he got it. Yeah, so I think there's a little bit more how the damage works out. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think both of them can trade back and forth on who the MVP is. Both of them are really good characters for this. So yeah, let's see where this ends us. I'm trying to see if there's a new comp at all. So it looks like it's just the same combination of these ones. There's always these two in the back line. There's some combination of these three. Lastly, I'll just kind of show my actual build of each character. So the big thing so here's the cards that I'm using. I think these two are great. I really actually like this combination, like the extra 50.5% attack bonus periodically, and then this extra healing is pretty nice too, just for general parts of content. Might not necessarily be the best, but I'm a fan of it. I don't think this is really optimal for super co-op battle, but for other parts of content, I actually really like the healing. And then when it comes to chips, I've gone really ham into getting chips. And then actually some pretty decent rolls here. We got power, we got damage increase, we got crit damage, and then we got damage increase. Got lucky here with a triple roll there. We got a single roll on power and then double roll on the penetration. Speed, I believe, is a worthless stat for him because he's a power character. And then lastly, we have crit damage, penetration, decrease, and damage increase at least hit 3 times. Ideally, it would have been either like 4 times damage increase. Yeah, ideally it would have been 4 times damage increase, but he's a little tankier because he got a decrease roll. And then the other characters, I haven't really been able to level their chips too much, but this is what I got for her. This is actually a pretty good roll, but I need to actually roll it. Hopefully it'll just keep hitting crit. I feel like hitting crit is such a big deal in this game. And then we also got crit damage, damage increase, and then unfortunately tenacity, and unfortunately it rolled tenacity, which is a bummer, but I think overall this is a really good piece. And then lastly, we got this one here, crit damage, and then tenacity and decrease are not ideal, but not terrible, especially because we got the crit and the crit damage, as long as it just keeps rolling it. But that's pretty much it. Oh, here, actually, last one. Here's the one that's like super lacking. I just got him like the other day. Don't have his cards ready to go, all level 1. So he could be significantly tankier. He could do a lot more damage. It's an okay roll. I was thinking maybe this guy, I could actually go like kind of tanky with him. It actually might be worth it. I'm not sure though. Just got him, so I'm not too familiar with him. I'm going to end the video here. And with that, I am out. Peace.